held it expecting to get more, 1.5% nickel type thing, which would be fine, which would be great. you get a lot of happy people finding a 1.5% nickel. Nonetheless, what we found was something quite completely different. We found our discovery hole was almost 8 meters of what was about 1 ounce PGMs, 1.5% copper, and it was 60 meters from surface. So it was quite a surprise, and obviously a happy surprise. We hit some amazing holes, really, each one sort of better than the next. We had, I don't know, at least, 5 or 6 holes of 10 meters or 10% copper equivalent or better, some over 20%. Unheard of holes, really, anywhere in the world, in the history of the world. So that's how good it was. And, so that, made us really sort of rethink what we had here.
Hello, everybody. 2025, we're back. Now, we did do a show with Ramp Metals the other day, and that was very exciting. Today is not all about Fartcoin. I know I can barely hold it any longer. I wanted to do something a little bit fun and to actually look at this meme coin and to kind of talk about this meme coin thing under the bigger, actual, real heading or consideration of regulation. I know, believe me, even whenever I was younger, if someone said regulation, I'd run the other way and think this is the most boring thing ever. But it's important now because as it stands right now, you can pretty much do anything in the market, pump and dump, do as long as it's not too blatant, but you can say anything, do anything as long as you attach a token to it. That's pretty much what the regulators are saying because that's what they're allowing for whatever reason. And even if you pump into a chat GTP, are these pump and dumps? It'll tell you yes. So we're living in a very interesting time where some things are allowed to happen and some things are not. Those that would go, oh, I hate all regulations, we shouldn't have regulation. Listen, regulations to some extent can be terrible. Canada is a great example of having too many regulations, but you have to have some. I mean, there's obvious regulations that one has to have, not only to protect people, but to protect the environment, protect, special interests, whatever it is. You need to have some regulations and some way to counteract fraud, some sort of body to make sure that people are doing things correctly. I mean, that's a given. It's fairly obvious. Now you see, before we get into Fartcoin, we did a little promo ad there for Power Nickel. What an incredible start to the year they've had. Both that Ramp as well. Like, we just had Jordan on the other day, and they had an incredible hole. So that speaks volumes. But he is such an interesting discussion that we had because we talked about crypto and Bitcoin and everything else. Their stock is up to 95 cents now. So it was 80 cents the other day, and that's great. Getting out the news for companies that have exceptional results and are waiting on more. That's what we're here about. We want to really promote with those people that are hitting good things, doing great work, very interesting to talk to. And that have lots of news coming. And we're going to have lots of news coming in the months ahead. With Power Nickel, we see the same type of thing. I think it's up 27% in the new year. Some of this is we're seeing people that sold off shares at the end of 2024, rolling back into 2025. There's a lot of different reasons. But once again, Power Nickel, real deal. I mean, you saw the ad. You can go look at a lot of our stuff. We work with them. We love them. We own, a chunk of Power Nickel. We see this as being, as long as they keep on hitting milestones and doing what they're doing, they're going to have lots of news and they're hitting things out of the park. Now, let's jump right into our Fartcoin. Now, I've picked this one as a random one because there's thousands of these meme coins. And we have to talk about it because of the size and scope. This is it's so strange that we're allowed to do this. So it is technically it's a meme-based cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain, and it is inspired by a joke or a community, and the whole point of it is that there's no revenue, no product, no service. It's speculative hype, absolutely zero substance. And somehow this thing is over $1 billion market cap. So if you ask people in this site, or you look at forums, you say, what are the positives? Like what could possibly be in this, other than just lulls, as young people say, the lulls, the jokes. And listen, I think any kind of community where you're sharing memes and you're having fun, and that's great. I mean, we need to laugh more. But why is there a token? Why is there some way that you put money and a token goes up in value that you can speculate on, have anything to do with sharing memes and having a community where you share jokes? But anyways, it is a vibrant social media community that thrives on viral memes. That's the entire point of this. It also boasts that it has very low transaction fees. Now, the transactions are hard to understand what you're actually transacting, because there is no revenue, there's no product, there's no service. I guess you're spending a token to see a meme. And it has, a humorous, lighthearted, community. That's what it is. That's it. You get a daily lucky draw. So it's a lottery, which is interesting now. So it promotes that there's luck and chance involved in this, and the rewards that you get are more Fartcoins. So it has lots of engagement, a lottery system, and what does it solve? Nothing. It doesn't solve anything. There's no R&D. It's transacting. Once again, it doesn't matter if you transact nothing. I can transact nothing all day long. Scarcity. Well, people always talk to me about scarcity too. Like, oh, there's only so many of these. Well, guess what? I've got 5 drawings here that I've done, and I'm willing to sell them to you. I've got 5. I'm only producing 5. That's scarce. They're useless drawings and they're not worth much. I think they might be worth something, but they're very scarce. That's scarcity. I'm taking it to a ridiculous end, but something has to have value and to be scarce, be rare and scarce. Most of these things aren't. So when you're talking about a cryptocurrency, and I'll throw Bitcoin in there as well, I know they're all a little bit different. There's nothing scarce about that whole sector. There's lots of them. You can choose one over the other. And I know that'll annoy a lot of people, but as this continues on, I become much more, kind of speculative or vigilant against a lot of the kind of the scamming things that are going out there. And I love the fact that young people are engaged in new technology and applying some type of digital processing, fintech, and also interested in markets and trying to make some money on the side. That's awesome. That's very exciting. But we also want them to do it properly, and also to not be hung out to dry. And I'm sure there's lots of people who've made tons of money on Fartcoin, which that's great. Good for you. A lot of these types of meme coins, as well as cryptos, you won't get the price when you attempt to sell. And once again, trying to sell, it's not easy. Like, you go on to one blockchain on Solana, then you have to buy another coin in order to do the transfer, and then another one. So you're paying little bits of fees along the way as well. So it's great for all the little businesses, because you're doing all these little trades in between. It's not convenient. It's not easy, but hey, that's just what it is. So what problem does it solve? None. What revenue does it generate? None. It has no utility, and it's hype driven. So here's the issues regarding it. Now, we mentioned that it's a cryptocurrency, but it's not a currency. So because that they want to avoid regulation that's saying that it's money or currency, largely these markets are completely unregulated. So you go, well, is it lottery or gambling? They say flat out it's a lottery. There's specific rules for lottery in the States as well, but it's not falling under those either. If you wanted to test the Howey test in the US for security classifications, is it investment of money? Yes. Do you expect to have profits? Yes. From others' efforts? Yes. It's a community. It says so. Part of a common enterprise? Yes. There's a common goal. So is it a security? Well, those 4 had answered yes. So, and I bring all this up because these are the conversations that are going on for years now, that they've allowed all of these things to go on, all these frauds, all these pump and dumps. And regulators are faced with, well, how do we, identify and word these things? And, I mean, it's not hard. It's not rocket science. They're allowing it for some reason, and I don't know why. I would love to be able to get a U.S. regulator or even a Canadian regulator to come on and tell me why they have any issue saying that this is what this is, despite the lobbying from different groups. But it's important to know that these are out there because of the amount of money that's been siphoned away from legitimate investments. And I'll throw this out as a cautionary tale. There are statute of limitations for any of these types of things. So if you're actively involved in pump and dumps, the enforcement agencies can't come after you for 5 to 10 years. I'm not saying they will or they won't, but they have the right. And that goes back, for anyone 5 years involved in any, as well as never mind whatever gains that are there. And if you leave the country, it doesn't matter. If you leave the country to go somewhere else, the U.S. will come after you. So really, the expression of Fartcoin, and pick any one of these ones, is literally just the illustration of the mania that exists today. Overall in the world, in our casual everyday existence. And although it is entertaining, it's really helping to destroy basic, fundamental, foundational understandings of finance, of economics, of the markets. And it is just, pump and dumps waiting to explode because the regulators aren't involved. Those involved in it, I mean, people say, well, those involved in it will just get kind of scammed. So what? Part of me thinks that way as well. We've talked about that kind of like buyer beware type of thing. And especially if you're in a niche market like that, everyone who's in that market claims to be, have some hidden knowledge about how these things work that no one else in investment banking can figure out, that Warren Buffett can't figure out, that all of these people can't figure out. This is what we're told all the time. And I'm here to remind people, it's not that hard to figure out. It really isn't. All of these types of technologies, some are interesting, some aren't so interesting. Most at best, I think, are R&D projects for the U.S. government to eventually go, this one seems to work well. We'll use this and apply it as some sort of payment system so we can go more digital in the future. And I remind people that most of Canada stuff is already digital. And most of also a lot of Africa is already paid. They pay by phone a lot of times. They don't use banks. People say, oh, they're underbanked. Well, because they use the telephone service to pay. And they've had that for a long time. So a lot of these new inventions that one hears, they're not all that new. They're not all that exciting. And they're not all that great. So I would say to keep this on more of a fun level as well, Fartcoin did not pass the smell test. So I wanted to start off the year with a little bit of fun there because I really do feel that we're going to have a great year ahead. And make no mistake, there's plenty of challenges. Just because I'm optimistic about our sector, I'm optimistic about a lot of different technology. I'm also hesitant because of so many incredible things being done. None of the problems that we had last year have been solved. I just feel that we're going to have actual solutions in order to implement a lot of these. And we see today, not that I'll get into it, is Justin Trudeau is stepping down finally, which is a great first step. Hopefully, if it is someone, they pass the torch to someone within the party and they don't call an election, that once again, it's someone who's got a bit more economic foresight or interest in finance and business. At the end of the day, that's what we want. Whether or not you like Pierre Poilievre or Jordan Peterson or any one of those, there was a great podcast in which Pierre Poilievre acknowledged that there is no reason why Canada shouldn't be exceptionally wealthy. And not only just in general, because of the talent we have here, the amount of intelligence. We've got like the entire brainstem just in Waterloo of tech there. We have all of the energy So I know whether you like it or not, oil and gas, we need to use it. We're going to use it for quite some time, even as we're transitioning. We've got all of that sitting there in Alberta. The East goes and gets stuff from Saudi Arabia. It's not like we're not using this. And I think people are waking up to the narrative that has been proposed, and then it's not matching with the reality of what's happening. And that's why we're seeing a lot of these governments switch and change, because they don't match up. And it doesn't matter what you say. I mean, politicians will say anything. We all know that. It's that, what do you do? And that's why I'm very optimistic as far as the mining focus is going. But we'll have to wait and see what actually happens. But this is a good first step. And once again, leave all the politics out of it. I think that O'Leary had mentioned, he's a controversial enough figure as well. Leaving all the politics out, our past, prime minister here just was not a good manager. You wouldn't hire him to manage something, never mind a country. So at that point, we're thrilled that we have a fighting chance now. And we see down south of the border in the U.S., at least regardless of what you think of there as well. Let's take that away as well and go, if they're serious that they are going to put businesses first and really start to grow and create supply chains and logistics in order to be self-sufficient, not only energy self-sufficient, which every country should want, but to be able to start bringing back manufacturing and building things like chips, which Biden had started with the CHIPS program. Lots of that hard work and a lot of that money and infrastructure money is already underway and building and working, which is a good thing. Hopefully they'll extend upon that. And we see that, once again, politicians, take them at their word if you want. Trump's saying that if you've got $1 billion project to bring to the U.S., we're going to make permitting easy for you. We're going to fast track. We need to hear that out of Canada as well. We need to remind people that the standards that we have in the West, and I'll just, whether it's for oil and gas, but let's just focus mining, are exceptionally high. They're far too high, I would argue. We are very, very conscious of what we do, despite what you hear in the mainstream news or from special interest groups and that whole kind of narrative. If you've watched any of my shows and you've heard all of these presidents and CEOs on these companies, they are all very cognizant of doing things correctly and intentionally in the right way. Pretty much everyone in BC, that they love the fact that they live in BC and it's beautiful. There's the mountains, there's the ocean. No one wants to cause harm to it. This notion that's the goal of these people is so strange that people even believe that that's possible. Never mind the fact that if you take all the engineers and scientists from oil and gas and mining industry, that these people deliberately want to harm the environment would be like counterintuitive, but also really very strange position to take, that all of these PhDs and all these people who have studied for so long willingly want to harm. It doesn't make any sense. That takes a very, very, very skeptical view of the world to think that that's the case. And also, you probably haven't talked to anyone in those fields. So we see that there's lots of promise, despite the Fartcoins out there and all the madness. And that madness and that euphoria, great. I hope some of you have made some money. My goal is to try to reach some of you and say, if you like your Fartcoin and you've made some money in that coin, none of your mining for cryptocurrency can exist unless you literally mine for it physically in the real world. There is no mistake. It wasn't by accident that whole promotional sector called it like certainly Bitcoin virtual gold, or that they're mining. There's a reason why they chose those terms, so that people thought that was a physical real thing that was difficult to do. It wasn't by mistake that they chose those analogies or that imagery for their sector. And I want to remind people, well, why would you go to a virtual one whenever you can go to the physical one that will actually make your chips? And we see that the Biden administration has approved an antimony mine in the U.S. very quickly. Why? because they're finally recognizing that they need the antimony for chips. We see another on top of that. Let me just bring up the news story here. Out of China with their latest. Hold on one second. China's proposed ban on exports, specifically in regard to phosphate, lithium iron phosphate. This is another big change that we're seeing in the markets coming out of China, where we saw that they've put export bans on a number of different things right now, including antimony. That the manufacturing of LFP cathode active material out of China is a significant pushback from China regarding all lithium. So any cathode and lithium processing technology, they're proposing an export ban. Why? Well, because they control it. And that can hurt. Now, once again, I see that as an opportunity. A company like we've had on before, First Phosphate. So John Pasalacqua. I'll just mention this company because they're up about 24% for the start of the year. In part, once again, I think because people had sold shares and they looked to see where should we look moving forward, who's got great opportunity, who's done what they said they're going to do. First Phosphate is one of them. We own a lot of First Phosphate, and we appreciate the hard work they've done, but they are going to be huge benefactors of this proposed ban because they have high grade lithium iron phosphate. They have the material to make these batteries. Go check out one of our old videos, take a look at them. But this is what we've been talking about for years, but especially the last year, is that there are companies with outstanding results that have been completely neglected, not loved, and they're critical. They're going to get noticed sooner or later, and they're going to get the respect that's due, and we're starting to see it, and that's an incredible opportunity for people. It's something Canadians can get excited about, because if we do get someone in here that says, like O'Leary from Shark Tank, who says Canada can be the country to help supply the US with all those critical metals. We have such an abundance of these critical metals that are desperately needed that we've left in the ground because we've had basically politicians and policies to prevent them from happening. If we actually turn that on with the foresight of having the strong regulations and the desire to want to do things properly, we could become a massive energy superpower. Not only because we have LNG, which the world desperately needs and will need for any transition period, whether you think it's 1 year that we're going to transition or you think it's the next 80 years that it's going to take to transition. And as you know, we don't mind talking about the transition. We love energy of all kinds. We think they have a place depending on where you are, what country you are, what kind of geography you have, the amount of sunlight you have. Solar might work somewhere, it may not work somewhere else. Electric vehicles have a harder time in Arctic freezing cold situations. They run very smoothly in warm climates. There's just a tool belt. And if someone would just present to people that that's the reality and the truth, while all this technology is being developed, and yes, there's lots of great advancements in solar panels and this and that. Most people that have that discussion about the technology part still won't reflect on the sheer massive amount of silver required just to make those solar panels. But that's coming to bear now. And we're starting to see that. And I think as we get these kind of positive pulses, in the market, and I view, Justin stepping down as a very big positive. If we can get someone who sees the vision, at least as what O'Leary is saying, or that Pierre Poilievre is saying, and they say, we are going to do this. We are going to provide all the solutions. We have a plan. We're actually going to implement that plan. Then there is a way for us to get out of the hole that we've kind of fallen into economically, and to, in a very quick time, we could turn things around. And that's the big hopeful spot here. Will it mean that there'll be investment in oil and gas? Yes. So people are going to have to get their head wrapped around that one if you're anti-oil and gas for the many reasons. We see places like Alberta is on the verge of a big, huge boom. It's underway. It's happening. It will be, I see it. And believe me, if people are old enough, when Calgary goes through a boom, or Alberta in general, it goes. Like, it really goes. And if it does, holy smokes, just watch out. And all signs look to be that that's what's occurring. And that's what's occurring with a lot of these companies. I mean, Power Nickel, people are starting to realize 11 billionaires. They've hit huge numbers. We would love to have this type of system at our fingertips that Dr. Stephen Beresford is comparing, to some extent, to the place like Norilsk. If it could be even a quarter of that, it would be a huge discovery, like a monumental discovery for Canada. We see these incredible numbers from Ramp. We see great numbers, from a lot of different companies. Never mind all the uranium developers out there in the Athabasca region and elsewhere that stand to be huge beneficiaries of the upcoming administrations and hopefully Canadian administrations. And once again, I would hope people would take away and remove any of the politics part. And when I refer to politics as two different things. There's real politics, which is the actual discussion about the theory of political systems. That's not usually what people talk about. Or it's the politics of just slander and people saying shitty things about it. Oops, I'm going to get in trouble for saying that on live. Saying, mean things about one another, or being opportunistic with insults or this and that kind of petty stuff on both sides of all parties. And that is terrible. It's useless. If you can kind of remove yourself and go, would we be better off if we had a business plan in place to jumpstart the economy and to get these resources out of the ground to all the companies in Canada that need funding, that need Canadians to get involved in and to fund in the tech sector, and so even solar panels. Why aren't we making solar panels? Why aren't we really doing a huge push? There's no end to the businesses that could be brought up to be encouraged to prosper for all those already in Canada, the new Canadians coming in who a lot of them are scratching their head going, what the hell did I walk into? This is not the dream I was hoping. Where's the opportunity? And we've fallen by the wayside, not giving people that opportunity, but it's there. It really is. And, I'm on a bit of a high here because I see 2025, it's starting off well. But I also caution people that, once again, just because I think that there's a momentum happening, it doesn't mean there isn't the significant problems. We still know that there's huge debt levels. I mean, that's why gold and silver are going to do great. We're very excited about gold. It took a pullback there near the in December. Pardon me. But it started off the year again, peaking up. It's pulled back again today, which is fine. But we're real excited about gold. Nothing has changed in that story moving forward for the year ahead. The debt crisis hasn't been solved. It's likely that there's going to be more money printing, if anything else. So there's so many amazing things that will happen for our sector, for us in mining, in energy, and that technology sector that we've been talking about for so long. And once again, I remind people, it does not take a lot of money for it to move. It takes a ton of money to make NVIDIA move. I mean, we're talking like, hundreds of billions. You don't need a fraction of that. That's the good and the bad of it, is that you can't inject the amount that you'd want. It's very challenging. I mean, you can. It's a bit difficult, but we're starting to see that they're doing it. That all these companies are partnering up now. And I want to kind of roll us off too, just kind of mentioning another company that I saw that had a great start to the new year. And it's Fred Jones, who we've had on the show. He's a great guy. Electrum Discovery Corp. We had talked to him before, and a friend reached out and said, hey, check out Electrum because they had some interesting news regarding, and hold up, I'm just going to pull it up right now. They've got a project in Serbia, and they had some good news in regards to a program here BHP. So they've got an accelerator program. I think an Oregon Royalties as well. They may have gotten money as well, but that's 500,000 they get, which is really interesting. And their stock is up quite a bit on that acknowledgement from BHP. And that's the type of things we want to focus on. Are all these big names within like 2,000 juniors that many shouldn't be looked at, say, never mind, won't be, won't do well. But those ones that are going to, that are actually having recognition from majors like BHP, that are doing excellent work and getting excellent assay results, those ones are going to get more attention. And my wish is to reach more of these young people that like the speculative nature of nothing. Like if you like all of this crypto and meme stuff, meme coins, there's no metric for why it's going up. It just simply goes up. There's a lot of metrics as to why a junior mining company goes up. There's lots of news flow as to what would make it go up. And if you want news flow and material information that is public that makes a stock go up, this is the market to be in. And it has just the same asymmetric gain potential. It's massive. If you look back at when this junior market goes, the gains are incredible. And we've had very many perspectives on that, whether or not that can happen again as a whole, or if it'll just be some of these companies will be lifted. Some are going to be lifted. I'm of the notion that the good ones are going to be raised very high, and we have an opportunity. And the way we could look at this is if you want to invest in Canada and in the people and in what we have and what we're blessed with, which is a resource-rich country, and the intelligence and the wherewithal of those people in not only engineering that can get these things done properly, to supply all of the scientists and all of the tech people who are creating all the solutions for energy and for technology and for AI. This all comes from one thing. It comes from the ground. And if we can get behind that and encourage one another and our neighbor to go, yeah, start a drilling company, or, then that's going to be a positive thing, because we want to have it here. We want to be mining here because we have oversight. We don't want it done elsewhere where we can't even look and see. Those days are gone where you could just kind of close your eyes and go, well, I want all of my technology, but I don't want to imagine where it comes from. I want all of my energy, but I don't want to acknowledge where it comes from, because we know the whole world is connected. Whatever happens in China, as far as pollution, happens here. And more people are waking up to that. We're excited. I think you can tell I'm very excited. I think 2025 is going to be outstanding. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. We hope you come along with us. Join us. We are going to have a ton of interesting guests coming on. And in fact, the end of the month here, I think it's the 28th, we're going to have Kobe Kushner back. He just did a deal with Cobalt Metals. Now, Cobalt is Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos. It's their private mining company. It's a lithium deal they've partnered with. But we're also going to have one of the lithium analysts from Adamas Intelligence. So we're going to talk about lithium at the end of the month here, because lithium is just being pounded on. It's just being kicked down to the ground. It's had a rough time, but once again, we see this China lithium technology cathode production issue that could spark a fire in the lithium sector in the year ahead. Because remember, there's a cycle within a cycle, even in mining. What's hated can become loved very quickly, because once again, these are all critical metals. We need them. And I know there's a million lithium projects out there, but which makes it a bit more challenging to find the one that you want to be in. But there are some clear, obvious ones that are doing very, very well. And we're going to get a chance to go chat with them. Send me any messages in the meantime for questions that you'd like to ask. And of course, join us live and ask questions away from them. We're going to have two analysts on. Both Kobe is the next analyst from Red Cloud, and then Chris from Adamas Intelligence. It's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks, everyone. Sorry about Fartcoin. I know it's up like 1,700% or whatever ridiculous amount it was up, but it doesn't pass the smell test. But no, it does. A lot of excellent companies out there that are having a great start. And even though we face a lot of tough economic challenges ahead, there's a place for you to be talking to your broker, your advisor, your financial planner, and asking about how can they how can you invest in Canada with the largest asymmetric upside potential, assuming you've got a bit of a risk tolerance level? But anyways, have that conversation. Reach out to us. We'd love to chat with people. We love engaging and telling you about the companies we like, we don't like, and of course having tons of guests where they'll tell you what they think as well. So everyone, enjoy the rest of the day. This is the first week back, and it's a beautiful day out here in Vancouver. We appreciate all the comments, all the emails, and we look to grow very strong this year. All the best, and we'll chat with you soon.
We drilled it expecting to get more, 1.5% nickel type thing, which would be fine, which would be great. You get a lot of happy people finding a 1.5% nickel. Nonetheless, what we found was something quite completely different. We found our discovery hole was almost 8 meters of what was about 1 ounce PGMs, 1.5% copper, and it was 60 meters from surface. So it was quite a surprise, and obviously a happy surprise. We hit some amazing holes, really, each one sort of better than the next. We had, I don't know, at least, 5 or 6 holes of 10 meters or 10% copper equivalent or better, some over 20%. Unheard of holes, really, anywhere in the world, in the history of the world. So that's how good it was. And, so that, made us really sort of rethink what we had here.